Welcome to Bridal Rays. This week we are looking at a study called It Is Enough, which is what Jacob says when he learns Joseph is still alive. And today we're looking at verses 16 through 24 in chapter 45. So you got Genesis chapter 45 before you. Turn to verses 16 through 24 and take a look at that. And then we're going to get started here in the study called The Best of All the Land. Here we go. So the servants heard what was going on, and the news spread fast in Pharaoh's household. Joseph's brothers had come. They had come to visit him. The news of Joseph's family pleased Pharaoh and his servants. They liked the idea that Joseph's brothers were there. They liked Joseph. So they were happy that Joseph's brothers were there. And the Pharaoh gave Joseph three things to say to his brothers. First one, load your beasts and go to Canaan and bring back your families. That was the first thing. He commanded Joseph to say to his family, load up the animals, go to Canaan, get your family, and come back. So Pharaoh is inviting Joseph's family to move. Number two is he's told them take some of the wagons of Egypt to travel by. So they're supposed to take wagons, not just just the donkeys, or they might have had horses back then, but not just to take the animals and go get them, but to bring wagons too. So they're going to be traveling in Egyptian style. And number three, don't worry about bringing your stuff because we will supply you with the best things from Egypt. Jacob's household would have had many things, obviously, in Canaan. They had a lot of stuff. They had bought stuff, they traded stuff. Jacob had lots of animals. The possessions were passed on from Abraham, who was very wealthy, Isaac, who was also very wealthy, and Jacob, who himself was very wealthy. So he just had a lot of stuff. They were good businessmen. They had a lot of stuff. Also remember that the brothers had plundered Shechem. They took all the stuff from Shechem, along with the wives and the children there. And so they have lots of stuff. Now, the Pharaoh is saying to them that the loss of their things would be more than made up for what they would gain in Egypt. So if they left everything behind, they just got on the wagons, they wouldn't have to worry about all their stuff. They would be supplied with everything that would be needed there. It would be for them as Joseph experienced. So Joseph had all the best stuff. They would get all the best stuff too. Though this would be the land of their affliction, God would bless them and make them forget the troubles of their home, just like what happened with Joseph. Now you get to verse 21, and verse 21 gives us the positive confirmation that Joseph and his brothers did as the Pharaoh commanded. They did exactly what he said. Joseph loaded the donkeys with food for the families, for the trip, and they were given some of the Egyptian cargo chariots, to ride back and forth to Egypt in style. So Joseph also took the initiative to provide a few extras. To all his brothers, he gave a change of clothes, but to Benjamin, he gave 5 changes of clothes. And then he also gave him 300 shekels of silver, which was a decent amount of money. I mean, that's quite a bit of money just to drop on your brother. So he's given gifts. For his father, Joseph sent 20 donkeys, 10 carrying the good things of Egypt, which was probably expensive trade goods, the good stuff to show like, hey, I really am who I say I am. And then 10 carrying grain, bread, and provisions for the trip. So he had 10 donkeys carrying quite a bit of food. So that would give them more than enough provision to bring him back. That really he has all those donkeys for himself to bring back all the stuff. So now it's estimated that a donkey could easily carry around 100 pounds of dead weight. So if you have a normal donkey, Joseph sent about 2,000 pounds of goods to his father. That's quite a bit. So Joseph told his brothers that they were to tell Jacob of his honor in Egypt. And this display of provisions and all this goods, would obviously help to convince Jacob that what he's saying is true. Remember, Jacob he resigned himself right away when he saw the robe that was destroyed. He convinced himself that Joseph was dead. And so he would obviously need to be persuaded out of that decades-long grief over his loss of his son. So hopefully, this would help convince, because you got 2,000 pounds of all this stuff, or 2,000, of all these goods coming out of Egypt. Like, the brothers did not have enough money to buy all this. That was the point. And so hopefully Jacob would see the truthfulness of what the brothers are saying, and that Joseph really is alive in Egypt. Now, before the brothers set out, Joseph tells them not to quarrel along their journey, which is very funny. Joseph saw in his brothers the inclination to fight amongst themselves. He's already seen that, right? They were doing that in front of him. They already had begun to point fingers when they were convicted of their wrongdoing. Remember, Reuben said, "I told you." And so they were quarreling before him when they were arguing over what happened with Joseph. So perhaps Joseph was afraid that that would happen again on the way home as they traveled. Whatever reason, we don't know why he exactly says that. I mean, the brothers are prone to quarrel. They did that already, so why he doesn't want them to quarrel? Maybe he wants them to just be happy. Like, hey, man, this is all worked out. It's all good. But he gives them the command not to quarrel as they leave for home, and then they go home. And they do what Joseph and the Pharaoh told them to do. So that's really the end of that section of the story, with the brothers, with Joseph and the Pharaoh. And now they're going to get ready to go back home. Finally, they already tried leaving once, but this time they actually get to go back. So come back next time. We'll look at verses 25 through 28 and kind of finish off this story and move on to the next one.